Good morning, YouTube. It is 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and we are doing a purplish bowl today. Nothing too big, nothing too fancy, but we're trying to get in some repetitions because it's been a while since I've been in the garage and wanted to do something a little bit smaller, but nothing too complicated. So thought I'd just take a simple 1 quart, add some glitter, some cool, finely mixed up glitter here, mix it all up in our East Coast resin. I'm just going to make a simple Blake out of it. Not going to do anything too complicated with today's project. Again, as you guys know, I've been out of the workshop for a little bit, so I just really want to start doing some smaller projects before we do something a lot larger. So mixed everything up using East Coast resin. Got this beautiful blank here. It's a little sticky on the bottom. I didn't end up transferring it to the other pot, so it's a little stickier on the bottom. I'm going to learn from that, and in the future definitely put it into a different pot. So 4.5 hours in the pressure pot there. Got everything nice set up and even. Put the giant waste block on there, so now we're just going to put on our face plate so we can get that turned on to the lathe. Did this project sometime in, I want to say, early October. I'm doing the commentation a little bit later in October, so got that all hooked up. Now we're just going to put that onto the lathe. You can see there the sticky portions of it. It's kind of just like, it's like bubble gum on there a little bit. And you can tell on the chisels too, once you start working that superficial layer off, which parts of the resin have set up and which other ones are a little bit softer. But overall, this went really well. And just like with most of our projects, just taking off that superficial layer, coming back, hitting it with the bowl gouge and the smaller carbide tool. Once you get that superficial layer off though, it goes by pretty smooth. You can see me just getting shot in the face with all these cool ribbons. Now we're just working on the edges, trying to stay as far away from that tailstock as much as possible, because in a project you guys didn't see, I ended up hitting the tailstock with a chisel and just absolutely ruining the edge. So once we got that all done, now we're just coming back, doing some of the finer detail work, getting everything nice and smoothed out. You can see my head in this one. Look how huge my head is, but I'm wearing my safety equipment, so sorry for the bad camera angle there a little bit. Sometimes when you're doing these things, you just kind of forget where the camera is a lot of the time. I can't wait to get something where I can just mount it on the top of the actual ceiling itself, which will make it a little bit easier because I'm using a ring light for this. I don't know how other YouTubers, I imagine they use ring lights as well, but a little bit difficult sometimes. So anyway, back to the project. So once we got the bottom all down the way we wanted to, now we're just coming back with the smaller carbide tools and just getting that nice round mortise built into the bottom, trying to size up the chuck there before we actually turn it down and reverse it. And you might be able to hear my cat in the background running around, so I apologize for that. Anyway, so once we got that all down to the size we want, now we got it reversed in the chuck. And admittingly, on the bottom of the actual mortise itself, it was a little wide on the lip there, so I really didn't like the way the bottom of this turns out, but once the project's done, you really won't see the bottom, so it kind of won't matter. So it doesn't matter that the mortise is a little bit bigger and kind of takes away from the aesthetic, but overall really happy with it. Anyway, so now we're just getting that waste block off. Just decided to go ahead and take the chisels. It's just soft waste pine board, so went relatively easy. So once we got that all smoothed out, now we're just getting that superficial layer off the top so we can start the actual gouging portion of it. And you can see my forehead there, again, taking up most of the space on the camera. So once we started that, now we're starting the gouging process, and you can see that we're really getting a lot of good material worked off in the middle, getting these really good shavings taken off of the actual blank itself, really nice and smooth, coming back, hitting it with the square, the round, carbide, and the actual bowl gouge itself. So once we got this down, started working down the actual depth of it, this part went relatively smooth. Not a whole lot of problems with this project. Like I said earlier, just doing some real basic type of projects, nothing too extravagant or fancy. But I promise you, later in the year, we'll get a little bit better with them. So once we got that, here's just another angle, wearing my safety equipment, of course, and you can keep seeing my giant head getting in and out of the angle of the camera, because the problem with this one was it was so small. I was literally like bent at the waist trying to get down in there so I could see where I was actually gouging out, because if you can't see, it's hard to actually do it. But sometimes you can feel it on the chisels a little bit, so that helps as well. But I'm nearly 6'2", so really have to get, you know, down there to see where you're actually working. So once we got that all done, now we're just trying to get to the depth that we like. And admittingly, I probably could have gone a little bit further with the depth, but I just didn't want to risk the biscuit. And once I got that all finished, this is pretty much the project right before we start the sanding process, which you know I love so much. See all these cool little shavings for just one simple little project, as I always say. So garage is absolutely covered in a giant mess, and now we're ready to start the sanding portion of it. So in typical fashion, start from 380, 320, 340, somewhere around there, and then we're going to work up to the 1500 with the micro mesh. And then we're going to do our wet sanding, and this is really where you get that really fine, good polish in there. Really makes the actual bowl itself pop once it hits in the sunlight. And on this day it was raining a little bit, so lost my pad there. So now we're just trying to get the wood wax on, and I put more on the actual chuck than I actually did the plank. So apologize for that. So once we got that all nice and polished, now we can see what it looks like in the sunlight, which on this day was particularly raining, so you didn't really get that cool aesthetic. But here it is, all nice and neat. Like I said, nothing too fancy this week, just trying to do something small, basic, but it still looked really, really cool. Really liked how it turned out. But like I said, if you don't use your skills, you lose them. So that's the whole purpose of these smaller projects. So hope you guys got something out of it. Hope you guys liked this week's project. And don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff that I usually say, and every YouTuber does as well. And I'll see you guys in the next project. Peace! Okay, so project is done. Look at this cute little guy. Nothing too big, just a small little dude. Pink, I think we put purple glitterish stuff and a little bit of powder in here to make the color. But so, like I said in some other earlier videos, today is October 1st of 2021, and you guys are probably not watching this until February. So I'm getting back into the garage, making some other projects. You can see probably in the background one of our other projects we're going to do, but I just wanted to do these smaller projects just to get a feel for the chisels and just basically start getting a little bit bigger. And I'm sure I went over that in the commentary. So I haven't been in the garage in almost 2 months with all the move and the new shop and everything, but this one turned out really good. Probably could have gone a little bit deeper on the project itself, but it looks pretty good. So October 1st, we're going to be doing some Halloween themed stuff. So I'm sure I'll release that well before February. So I hope you like the project. Hope you got something out of it, and then I'll see you guys in the next project. All right, peace.